No, the topic of today's video, Nikos Gallas, never stepped foot on an NBA basketball court despite getting drafted by the Celtics and then receiving offers from both the Nets and the Celtics later on in his basketball career, which means...
All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. Hope y'all are having a good day so far. So I wanted to check out this video. Actually, this was sent to me from the comments, so thank you very much for this. I'm intrigued by this title. It's titled, "He dropped 50 points on Michael Jordan, but told the NBA no, ... Why?" Dude, I don't know who this is. And when we're talking about like international play, the only one that comes to mind that really went head to head against Jordan was Drazen Petrovic, but he did play in the NBA, so I don't actually know who this is about. This is a video from Mike Korzemba we're going to react to, and I'm going to link the original video down below in the description like I always do, considering I have no idea what this is about. No intro here. Links are down below in the description. There you'll find a list of channel members. Thank you all channel members. You guys are awesome. Guys, let's just get right into it, yeah? Let's see what this is about.
What if I were to tell you that there was a player in basketball history who was so good that Boston Celtics legend Red Auerbach, a man who won a combined 16 NBA championships, said that the biggest mistake in his career was letting this player go? What if I said this man was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame as he was known as one of the greatest scorers of his generation due to the fact that he averaged nearly 28 points per game in college at Seton Hall, as well as scoring over 44 points per game overseas?
Okay.
And what if I said, legend has it, that on one historic night, this same man dropped 50 points on Michael Jordan's head? Well, listening to all of this...
Okay, wait, so he went to college here in the States, but then he went overseas to play pro instead of playing in the NBA. That's what I've gathered so far. And he busted Jordan's ass one game in college. All right.
Probably assume that this player was some sort of NBA legend, but no. No, the topic of today's video, Nikos Gallas, never stepped foot on an NBA basketball court despite getting drafted by the Celtics and then receiving offers from both the Nets and the Celtics later on in his basketball career. Which means we have to ask the question,
why?
Why did this basketball legend never play in the NBA?
And guys, I am very excited to say that this video is brought to you by Squarespace. We'll get more into that later, but for now...
So what's up guys, Mike here, and today we are looking at the career of Nikos Gallas, a man who was the definition of a bucket at every single level of basketball he ever played at. Trust me when I say you are going to be in shock at just how much Nikos achieved as a basketball player, and you are definitely going to ask yourself the same question I've asked: what if Nikos Gallas played in the NBA? Because it is clear he would have been a game changer. He was just that good. And again guys, the goal in 2021 is 2 million subscribers, so if you are new to this channel, hitting that subscribe button just takes one click of a
1.83 million subscribers, Mike Korzemba. Holy cow. Damn. All right, you're on your way. Mainly I just want to know why he rejected the NBA.
Button from you, and it means the world to me. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for all the new subscriptions. You guys are awesome. Please subscribe. And now I want to begin this story at the conclusion of the 1979 draft.
As for me, if I get to 100K by the end of the year, I'm going to just poop my pants all over the place.
Nikos Gallas was just taken by the Boston Celtics with the 68th pick. And yes, the NBA did have more rounds in their draft at the time, but even though he would have been undrafted in today's NBA, the Celtics were very hopeful in Nikos' potential. The reason for this was that at Seton Hall, Nikos had transformed into one of the best players in the nation and was seen as an unstoppable scorer during his senior year. As in that senior season, Nikos scored 27.5 points per game, an incredible amount. As remember, at the time, there was no three-point shot. What's even more amazing was that Nikos shot nearly 58% from the field as a guard, and that in 1979...
58% from the field? Averaging 27, all right.
He would finish as the nation's third leading scorer behind Lawrence Butler and Larry Bird. This 1979 season led to Seton Hall head coach Bill Raftery calling Nikos the best player he has ever coached, which is why it should be no surprise that when the Celtics training camp began, many people were very hopeful that Nikos had a long NBA career ahead of him. Only there was one problem, and it was his ankle. Yes, during training camp of that season, Nikos suffered a severe ankle injury and because of this, Nikos was cut from the team as the Celtics were worried that this ankle injury might affect his entire career, and they also had another rookie guard in Gerald Henderson who could replace Nikos. This would turn out to be a massive mistake, and as I previously mentioned, Celtics legend Red Auerbach certainly had regrets about this decision. In fact, Red would go as far as to say, quote, "The only big mistake of my career was not signing Gallas back then," which are some pretty insane words when you think about it. Red Auerbach was involved with the Boston Celtics either as the team's coach, general manager, or president for over 50 years. To call Nikos his only big mistake must have meant that this really haunted him, and really, just based on the legend that Nikos dropped 50 points on Michael Jordan's head is proof enough to me that this statement is true. Now, we are going to dig deeper into that Michael Jordan.
Damn, dude, look at him.
Now, though, let's listen to Nikos' thoughts on getting cut. As he said, "It was my decision too. We sat down and talked. I had generous offers from Greece, coming from a poor family to go overseas. It was a decision I never regretted because I felt in love with the place and people as soon as I got there. I've been there 38 years now. I never left, no regrets."
Okay, there you go. There you have it. So, sounds like he made the right choice. Had a good life. Yeah. Okay. So it's not like something terrible happened and he rejected the NBA. Like, this opportunity fell in his lap and he just went for it, and then it ended up being the greatest decision of his life. Cool. I want to hear how his ankle worked out.
And while Nikos might have no regrets, it's not hard to see why the Celtics and Red Auerbach did. Because during his professional basketball career, Nikos established himself as the best Greek player to ever play the game of basketball. In fact, before we even get into his achievements, just know that Nikos was the first European player ever to get a $1 million basketball contract.
Wow.
That in itself...
Guys, have you ever heard of him? I've never heard of him.
Is insane. But when we look at Nikos' career in Greece, we find that things only get crazy. Because at the time of his retirement, Nikos had established himself as the best Greek player to ever play the game of basketball. According to Euroleague.net, in over 12 seasons of Greek basketball, Nikos lost just 6 times and was the league's top scorer 11 times.
And guys, like I mentioned to you before, this video is brought to you by Squarespace. When it comes to websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for you to have a beautiful web presence and to run your business. Using Squarespace, you are able to create a community on your Squarespace website that supports threaded comments, replies, and likes. You are also able to use their powerful blogging tools to categorize, share, and schedule your posts too. Using Squarespace, you can connect.
Let me age myself real quick. I haven't built a website since MySpace.
Your audience through gated members-only content. That is also going to help you generate revenue. You can also manage your members, send email communications, and leverage your insights all on one easy-to-use platform. And so guys, go check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and then when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/MikeOrzemba for 10% off your first website or domain. That's squarespace.com/MikeOrzemba. The link will be in the description. And now guys, let's continue on with the
All right, there you go,
when I say top scorer, I mean that Nikos averaged nearly 40 points per game throughout his prime as a...
Good Lord. Good Lord. Look at this guy. Hey, Michael Jordan. Dude. Who is this guy?
A basketball player, and in 1981, he
Dude. What the hell?
Up a staggering 44 points per game for the season. On top of this, Nikos also led the EuroLeague in scoring 8 times, and in those games against much tougher competition, Nikos still averaged close to 35 points per game for his EuroLeague career.
Yeah, man. He's scoring just fine.
With a high of 37.7 points per game in 1988. Again, the man was a walking bucket, and here's why. Now, to me, one of the most interesting things to look for when we watch Nikos' game is that on the offensive end, despite standing at just 6 feet tall and despite not having any sort of a great vertical leap, Nikos was able to become a lethal scorer through one of the most unique ways I have ever seen. We of course know about legendary moves like Kareem's skyhook and Dirk's fadeaway, and when it comes to Nikos, we can see that he definitely had a signature move of his own. Because when watching these clips, we can see that using his incredible core strength, Nikos was constantly able to knock down jumpers that were completely guarded. The way he was able to do this was simple in theory, but almost impossible in practice to pull off. Because while most basketball players basically have to shoot at the highest point of their jump shot, Nikos mastered the art of delaying his release until the defender that was contesting him was on the way down. This gave Nikos a near unstoppable jump shot, as because even if you played near perfect defense, you would just watch as Nikos waited for you to fall to the ground as he then proceeded to drain a jumper in your face. That's
like 80s Jordan too. See if you can stay in the air longer, basically. Make your defender actually land on the ground, therefore you're unblockable at that point.
What defenders had to deal with on a nightly basis. That is what made Nikos such a legend. And as previously mentioned, Nikos was not only a scorer, but he was a winner too. Throughout his career, Nikos won several Greek League championships and Greek League cups, but the most impressive win of his career would come in the 1987 FIBA European Championship game. As throughout this tournament, Nikos was simply unstoppable and did the near impossible, carrying Greece to a championship win while averaging 37 points per game in the tournament. And to top things off here, Nikos would put up 40 points in the championship game as Greece won by just 2. This gave...
Dude, how tall is he? He's looking like he's like 5'11" or something out there, just busting everyone's ass.
Just one of their 2 European championships in their country's entire history, and it's facts like that that make it easy to see why Nikos was seen as such a legend. But with all this in mind, before we do get into the Jordan game, you might be wondering, why did Nikos never come back to the NBA after playing some time overseas?
Okay, at this point, like, at first I thought this was going to be totally a him versus Jordan kind of story, but I'm really glad it's not just all about that, because I had no idea who this guy is, and it's actually really, really cool learning about it, so good job.
The answer to that does not come in the form of interest, because like I said before, Nikos was offered contracts by both the Celtics and the Nets later on in his career. The problem was, accepting those contracts would come with a huge price. FIBA rules at the time stated that NBA players were not allowed to play at the national team level, which meant if Nikos did accept an NBA contract, he could not play for Greece.
Oh,
and to me, it's just...
wow. Dang, that was a rule back then, huh? So if you play for the NBA, you can't be, not only were you not allowed in the United States team, but you weren't allowed in your home country's team either, huh? I don't recall that, but yeah, okay. That makes all the difference. So he wanted to represent his home, and he wouldn't be allowed to do so if he signed a deal with the NBA. Hey, man, props. I tip my hat off to this guy.
A ton about Nikos and his national pride that he turned down the chance to play in the NBA because he loved representing his country that much.
Yeah,
with that said, let's now talk about what you've been waiting for, Nikos's matchup with Michael Jordan himself. Now, to be clear, short. This matchup did occur when Jordan was in college and Nikos was playing with the Greece national team, but we have to remember 2 things. 1, the talent gap between the rest of the world and the United States was so big at this point that the Tar Heels would actually beat the Greece national team, and 2, Michael Jordan was already 20 years old and had already begun to show some serious flashes of the generational talent he would become. With that in mind, it's no surprise that in this game, Jordan would score 34 points in his team's win. What is potentially shocking is that the legend goes, for his part, Nikos scored 50 points on Michael Jordan. 50 points. Now,
did they play the same position? Were they guarding each other?
To be completely transparent with
they're playing zone, huh? So I guess, yeah, it doesn't matter as much.
Guys, this game is actually a source of incredible debate, because while a lot of people do claim that Nikos did score 50 points here, others state that the number was closer to 24, which is an absurd difference. And unfortunately, because this was an exhibition game played in 1983, almost 30 years ago, there is no stat sheet, so we really can't tell for sure. Regardless of anything though, what I do know is that after this game, Michael Jordan gave Nikos the ultimate seal of approval, because when asked about Nikos, a more than impressed Mike would say, quote, "He is a complete player. I didn't expect to see such a scorer from Europe, especially from your country."
Damn.
Yes, Mike.
Yeah, major freaking props from the GOAT right there. That's so cool.
Michael Jordan was in complete shock that Nikos was not playing in the NBA and instead was playing in Greece, something that I can say a lot of people were in shock of at the time, because by the end of his basketball career, it was clear Nikos Gallas was one of the best players to never play in the NBA, and that was certainly confirmed when he was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, which is awesome for Nikos. Again, he says he has no regrets, but I really wish we could have seen this guy play NBA basketball. I would have loved to see how his game translated to the NBA level. level. With that said though, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you are new to this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Again, the goal is 2 million subscribers in 2021. All it takes is a single click from you to subscribe, and it will be much appreciated by me. And I do want to say you guys have been so supportive lately. Thank you for that. It really does mean a lot. Also, as you guys know, if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You're awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day, guys, and cue that music. If you're still here while the music is cued, here are 2 videos I think.
Nice. All right, that was a great video. By the way, 2 million subs. What a wild ride. There, Mike is on over there. That's awesome. As far as I know, yeah, Mike's been around for a long time though. So, yeah, props to you, man. You've been doing the YouTube thing for a long time here, talking hoops. So it's awesome. I'm glad you've been around. So Nikos, okay, I learned a lot about the guy. I never heard of him. I'm very curious to hear if any of you have heard of him. Maybe some of you have some life experience out in Europe and you got to see him play. I don't know, but I'd love to hear it down below. My only experience with him is what I just watched with you guys right now. And one, I'm curious about his height. First of all, because I see his height and he looks like the shortest guy on the court. So he looks like he's like 5'11", but he's like busting people from outside. He's driving, penetrating. He's even like getting the ball on the post and like under the basket and still converting into points. Like, I don't know. So like he looks small, but he definitely does not play small. And I would love to watch that game against North Carolina. But it looks like there's no like official full game footage, or else I'm sure Mike would have actually tallied up the points to see what was what. But you know, it wasn't like a hoax because, well, first of all, the guy was averaging like 41 and 37 and all these crazy numbers in his Europe leagues. But Michael Jordan also tipped the hat to him and said like he didn't expect to see like such a deadly score like that. So that's really, really cool. And yeah, I guess, yeah, all I'm doing is I'm curious to see what you guys know about this guy. So I'll go ahead and end the video here. I thought it was great, and I look forward to having the conversation with you guys down below. Yeah, like the vid, subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this, and be water, my friends. Peace out, everybody. Thanks for watching.